Hi guys, this video is a special one for those users of goodcryptoX who have been trading with DCA bots before February 2026. And we were using DCA bots in cost mode. The reason for this video is that right now, before the release of app version 2.4.1, the DCA mode in the cost mode in our DCA bots is so-called partial cost mode, pseudo cost mode, whereas with app 2.4.1 we're releasing the full cost mode. And as we communicated, the full cost mode, while being better in many regards, means that the same setup in partial cost mode will require more funds in full cost mode. And we've got a lot of questions asking like, why are we doing that? Why not leave things as they are? So I wanted to kind of record this video and illustrate what's wrong with, or what's not that so ideal with the partial cost mode and why we're implementing the full cost mode. There is a separate video comparing the full cost mode with size mode, which I highly suggest you watch. It kind of explains a lot and of all the benefits of the cost mode. I'll just basically illustrate here the logic that is currently exists and like that we want to change. So okay, this is the new app, right? The one that is gonna go live a couple of days from now. It's version 2.4.1, and here when you see fixed cost, and basically what you do is let's say if we create a setup where we have 9 averaging orders and we have entry order, and the first averaging order of 10 USDC, 10 USDC, and then all the multipliers, step and multiplier and the cost multiplier is basically one. What we do here, so we have basically 10 orders of 10 USDC each, right? So this is 10 USDC, that's entry, this is 10 USDC, that's the cost, and basically as the size, cost multiplier, the size multiplier is 1, so every order is equal to previous one. So we have 10 orders of 10 USDC, and you need 100 USDC for this setup, which is kind of logical and straightforward, right? Like there is no other way to do it, right? That would we'd expect cost mode to be. However, let me try to pull up the current app, which is now in production. Let's see if it comes up voluntarily, or we would have to force it. No, it's still 2.4, 2.4.1. Let's see. No, it's okay. Now we are back to production version. So this is up version 2.4.0, which is now in production. And let's create here the same setup, right? So it's a cost mode, and we have a 10 USDC entry order. We have 10 USDC averaging order. We have 9 averaging orders, so 10 orders in total, and the size multiplier is 1. So remember, we just looked at the cost setup, cost mode setup. That means 10 orders of 10 USDC, you would need 100 USDC, right? Let's look here. They have 92 USDC. Well, where did 8 USDC go? More so, if we say here, choose the step multiplier, the higher one, like 1.3, suddenly we only need 88 USDC. Okay, what if we increase price step to, let's say, 5%? Wow, we just need 70 USDC. Where did the 30 USDC go? So here's the trick. That's why the current cost mode is called partial, right? In reality, how it works now is that you set your entry order in USDC, you set your first averaging order in USDC, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So this order will be 10 USDC. Oh, sorry, this order, the entry order, right? So it's gonna be 10 USDC converted to Solana at the price of 87 USDC for 1 Sol, and then this order is again gonna be 10 USDC converted to Solana at this price. However, so it's gonna be some amount of Solana here bought actually for 10 USDC at this level, and then all the other levels will be basically this amount of Solana on this level multiplied by the size multiplier, right? So in effect, the partial cost mode is actually partial. So that means that basically only those two levels, the entry and the first averaging, the ones that you explicitly set in USDC, they are in cost mode. The rest of the levels are actually in size mode. That's why it's called partial size mode, partial cost mode, and that's where those 30 USDC went, right? So in effect, the partial cost mode solves one problem that the cost mode should solve. So it solves the predictability part, right? So with this partial cost mode, if you need like 70 USDC for this setup, that means that even if the price, goes up or down of Sol, right, you will still need 70 USDC. It doesn't change. So the predictability part is actually solved by the partial cost mode, which is nice and fine. However, as if you've watched my video comparing size and cost mode, you know that the cost mode has another advantage besides the predictability. It is more efficient in averaging down your position price, meaning if you have some distribution of your funds among this level, with all else being equal, with all the parameters being equal, cost mode will have more USDC geared toward the lower levels, meaning it will average down a position more efficiently, right? So that part is not done very well by the partial cost mode, and also, as you've seen, it's not really logical. Like you set 10 orders of 10 USDC, and with the size multiplier 1, so basically you would expect those orders, the rest of the orders being equal to this one. That's not the case, right? The price of those orders, the distance between the levels actually affect the amount of money. This is not ideal. So full cost mode kind of improves that and fixes that. So that's gonna happen. That's kind of the way to go. Maybe we should have implemented it from the get-go. However, better late than never. We're doing that. And again, to address the concerns, how it will gonna work. Once we release the app version 2.4.1, we will be also releasing the new backend with the new averaging logic. Once that logic is up, your existing running setups in cost mode, when they finish the current iteration after the deploy, right, the next cycle they will use the new averaging logic. That means that will require more funds, basically, right? So just to give you an example, this is an extreme example, but if you are trading with dgen preset, so dgen preset as it stands now in full cost mode will require almost 4 times the amount of funds it requires in partial cost mode, which is a huge change. But in an extreme case, this is a setup with a huge price step multiplier, and a size multiplier of 2. So this is the extreme case. If you're using smaller step multiplier or smaller price step, then the amount the difference is not that drastic. For my typical SEX setup, the difference is maybe 1.5 to 2x, not 4x. Anyway, it still will require more money, right? So if that's a problem, what you need to do is basically, once we announce that we are releasing the app, you just basically turn off the repeat on take profit and restart your setups with a smaller multiplier, so it will require less funds, right? And you will stay the same. So again, just to make sure that you understand this, that like, let's say, I don't know, we are now running this setup. Let's say I'm running this, that's my, let's say, this is the setup I run now, right? It's a kind of degen with this amount of this order size. This is my most common setup that I run now on DCA. So this requires 150 USDC. Okay, and once the new logic, the new version logic will be up, it will require 600 USDC, which is a lot. So I'm like, let's say I'm just calculate everything so tight that I only have this 150 and that's it. So what I need to do in the future basically is just to decrease the size multiplier to something like 1.6, and then you see it's about like 40 USDC. So that with the new logic will require 4 times more, so it will be 160. So pretty much if you change the size multiplier from 2 to 2.6 with the gen setup, you will have the same amount of funds in the bot. However, even though the amount of funds in the bot will stay the same, the averaging logic is improved. As I said, the cost mode is more efficient than averaging. That means more of your funds will be placed on these lower levels, and your chances of hitting take profit will actually improve, all else things being equal. So again, that's why we are implementing the cost mode. Okay, so that's pretty much it regarding the why and how. One more thing, if you got to this point, congratulations. One more thing to note is that we, besides changing the cost mode, we also found a small bug that we actually had probably for a while. The thing is that for the technical, like if you don't want to get into nitty-gritty details, you can disregard it. It's not that crucial, but for the more anal view, so we now have a bug, which means that the step multiplier between the first averaging order and second averaging order is always, don't ask me why, it just so happens that it's always 1.25, not 1.3, not 1. Wherever you set here, it is applied everywhere on every other level. However, between this and this level, it's always 125, both on centralized and decentralized exchanges. It just so happens. It's not a huge issue because it's a relatively minor change, especially for like SEX setup, which if you cover like 50 or 60% price range with your averaging orders, you won't notice the difference. However, for the DEX setups, like we have this list, 5% and 1.3 here, so here basically we should cover like 80, minus 80, minus 90% difference. Here, even a small change in step multiplier here, it's actually consequential. So what will happen is, if you're running, for example, this degen setup now with price step 5%, step multiplier 1.3, you see your lowest averaging level is at minus 85%. With the bug fixed, the same setup will place your last averaging level at something like minus 95%. It actually adds up, and on this huge extreme setup, it actually matters a lot. So going forward with the new app, if you're launching a new setup, to get the same coverage, so basically to have your lowest averaging level at minus 85%, what you need to do is to change the step multiplier to 0.25, right? Right now it's minus 77%, but in the new app, with the bug fixed, the 1.25 step multiplier will place your last averaging order at minus 85. It will be equivalent to having 1.3 step multiplier right now. So that's pretty much it. It's not that crucial because this one is not going to be applied automatically. Your current existing running setups won't change. So that will only apply to new setups you're gonna create, and obviously it's all will be shown here. It's all transparent. You'll see it. However, if you're just like me, running creating these setups automatically, there's something to keep in mind. Other than that, that's pretty much it. What concerns those two things, there are two more great things we are releasing with this setup, meaning we finally will allow you to, I don't know if you have it, if you have a failed averaging order, you can retry it now, or you will be able to retry. And one more thing, if you have a stopped DCA for on error, for example, and the position is not closed for some reason, you will be able to retry closing the position, and if it closes, it will recalculate the PNL and close the position. It's going to be much more tidier than it is now. But I'll probably record another video showing that in detail, but that's something to have in mind. And if you are still here with me, I think it's a good Easter egg. That's something I know for me personally, there were two pain points that I suffered a lot from, and I'm very happy we have finally found the opportunity to fix those things. Thank you guys for your attention.